On this show, we follow the money, and when VSiN decided to launch our own store, the smart money was on Shopify. Getting the VSiN store off the ground was easier than we expected, and Shopify's templates and AI tools had us look incredible and professional from day one. Zero coding required. Shopify checkout keeps sales moving smoothly, and returning customers can complete a purchase in one click. Built-in analytics, you always know what's selling and where your customers are coming from and how to keep the momentum going. When questions come up, and they will, Shopify's AI assistant Sidekick is there with answers so you never lose momentum. You can check out the store at vsin.com/store. And if you're ready to build your own, all you need is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. Start your free trial at shopify.com/vsin. Shopify.com/vsin. Again, that's shopify.com/vsin.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Thanks for checking in here on a Monday. Mitch Moss along with Doug Kazarian. Paulie is on vacation this week. We are live in downtown Vegas. Circa Resort Casino is your spot. Busy hour coming up. We'll do some Major League Baseball at the halfway mark in 15 minutes. Steve Wist, the meat man on the World Cup at the bottom of the hour. We'll talk some Open Championship in about 45 minutes as well. And right now we go out to the Progressive guest line as Tyler Shoemaker joins the program. Great write-ups throughout the entire year. College football, hoops, also the WNBA. You can follow him on X at TShoeIndex. His write-ups are at vsin.com. Tyler, thanks for the time today. How are you?
Yeah, of course. How's it going?
Going really well. I was talking to Doug about this in the previous segment. Had to turn down an invite, unfortunately, last night to go to the Aces game. They played Caitlin Clark and the Fever, and the Aces got absolutely torched in that game. You were just in Las Vegas last week. You went to a couple of games. Your impressions overall of going to their games live, and I think overall they're still championship worthy. Last night we just throw that game in the garbage, right? Because they got blasted by like 30 plus.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can throw that game away, and I saw it coming in the numbers with the regression because, you know, the Aces had just killed the Mercury by almost 50 the night before. They're on a back-to-back like that you could see the writing on the wall there a little bit. But no, as far as last weekend at the games, I had a great time, really good atmosphere at the Aces games, of course. But the thing that really jumped out to me, because A'ja Wilson didn't play in either game, and obviously she's a 4-time MVP for a reason, but man, they looked really bad in both games without her. They beat Chicago in overtime and then lost pretty badly to the Fever again last weekend when I was there. So I don't know if they just have a fever problem, but they definitely did not look good without A'ja Wilson.
I mean, they've played deep into the seasons, and we've seen that. I mean, last year they were pretty average until they closed the season on a 16-game win streak. So we have to remember that. Obviously, this year, Jackie Young was sluggish out of the gate. She was dealing with the loss of her father, so obviously that was justifiable. The same thing happened to Kelsey Mitchell 2 years ago. So these are long seasons, and I think Mitch touched on it, and it was a great point in the last segment, is that they're not used to this schedule, whether it's back-to-backs. It's a different schedule. It's a longer season than we saw a couple years ago, right? That was the increase in games. And I just think overall it's draining, right? There's more media attention. There's more of a soap opera in certain ways, especially the Fever, who have won seemingly every game. And then also junctures of the season. All these teams coming out of the Commissioner's Cup break, they were struggling to score in the first half. I think 7 of the first 9 games out of the Commissioner's Cup break all went under, and most of them were by like 25 points. And I think that is a huge variable in the handicapping. We can't just compare scores or data and look at every game and every team's performance in a vacuum. Where they are in the schedule, obviously, like you said, A'ja Wilson missing some games here and there. I mean, you have to almost throw it out. So I think that's really sort of a fun challenge of handicapping these teams because there's such a fluidity to this season and just the newness to everything for all these players.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that kind of comes with the league expanding and the league growing in popularity. Like you said, I think this is something the players are going to have to get used to as the sport continues to grow, as we've seen it grow over the last several years. It's only going to continue to get bigger. You know, they got the new fat TV deal, so more eyeballs are going to be on them. You know, they're expanding the season again next year. I think the thing that's really going to impact the players is as the schedule continues to expand, you get more back-to-backs, you get more two games in 3 nights, 3 games in 4 nights, those type of things. Like the injuries and the depth of teams is really what's going to come into play in terms of handicapping this as we get into this new world of a really popular WNBA.
Sure. So then what do you want to do with the team that they blasted by 48 the other day? It's Phoenix. They're 8-16 on the year. They're a massive dog tonight as they get basically, one of, if not the best teams in the entire league. Do you want to take the dog here in this spot?
Yeah, I am. And you're right. I do have Minnesota as the number 1 team in the league. Unsurprisingly, Olivia Miles has been fantastic all year, and they expect to get Nafisa Collier back soon. But for tonight, I only make the game Minnesota -11. So I took Phoenix plus 12.5 tonight. I think it's a really good bounce back spot for them after getting blasted by Vegas in their last game.
So you were very specific with your numbers with that comment, but also you talked about a bounce back spot. That's narrative. Do you kind of blend the two and you kind of sort of gut check with numbers? How do you go about it in that regard?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. And that's something in my evolution, as a handicapper and as a modeler over the years, before 5 years ago, I would just play the number no matter what and not really look at anything else. But I've learned there's definitely an art and a science to handicapping, and I'm getting better at blending the two together.
It's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Doug Kazarian. Tyler Shoemaker is our guest. Follow him on X at TShoeIndex, and he's on the Progressive guest line. How about the other game that we have tonight? Any action for you in that one? Atlanta, a big, 8.5-point favorite here.
Yeah, I didn't play anything only because Angel Reese is questionable. She missed their last game, and they looked terrible without her. With her in the lineup, I would make it Atlanta -9. And I do think Atlanta's due for some positive regression here because they've really been playing terrible lately, even with Angel Reese in the lineup, much lower than their season-long average. So I think they're going to bounce back here eventually as long as Angel Reese gets healthy. And the Sparks have won a couple games in a row finally after looking really, really bad for a stretch. I would be on Atlanta. If Angel Reese plays, I'm on Atlanta, but otherwise I've got nothing.
Yeah, I want to ask you about that in terms of your math modeling and everything. How much does she factor into the point spread? Because obviously the low-hanging fruit to all the people who don't follow the sport hate her or mock her because of the me bounds and the missing layups. But she does impact winning in a lot of ways, rebounding, but also just passing and other things. She also can hurt them for sure. How much of an effect on the point spread does she have, especially if Brianna Jones still isn't back, although she's questionable tonight?
Yeah, I would say Angel Reese is worth about 3 points to the spread. But kind of one thing that I've learned over the years is there's the value that a player has to the point spread in terms of what the line should be, and then there's the value, the unquantifiable things that person brings to the team. And I think that's where the edge would be had. And that's why if she's out, then I'm out on the game altogether, because I think what she does for them just from an energy and attitude standpoint, I don't think can be replicated with anybody else they have on the roster. That's
a really well said. I've tried to quantify it. Point guards just sort of have a sort of an extension of the coach on the floor and things like that. There's an element of what she does that she has a presence to her and a celebrity status to her, and her impact on teammates, especially those that may not be that good or may not be that comfortable, whatever it is. I've been trying to articulate and grasp that. So I really appreciate how you phrase that, or impact on the point spread in terms of pure numbers, and then the actual outcome of the game. I mean, they lost as a sizable favorite in their last game to Portland, who's not very good at all. Not horrendous, but not good at all. So I'm ready to fade this Sparks team. I think they're horrendous defensively. Yeah, they had a couple wins that they just came off of, but they were prime spots for them, facing the Fever, who were kind of checked out and looking ahead to the next game. And then even their most recent win, Chicago's nothing special at this version of them, at least. So I think the Sparks are ripe to get rolled here.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I have been doing some regression numbers where I look at the last 3 or 5 games that a team has played and compare that to what their season-long numbers are to see who's maybe going to bounce back, or who's maybe playing hot like the Connecticut Sun that are going to come back to earth a little bit. And I think this game, I give this Atlanta LA game 12 points of regression in favor of Atlanta. Again, assuming Angel Reese plays. Because Atlanta's been much worse than their season-long average lately, and LA's been much better than their season-long average lately. So I think if those worlds collide, I'm with you, Doug. I think Atlanta could roll them tonight.
Okay, looking at the future market, Tyler, and tying that into the standings overall, Golden State, they're a half a game back. They're tied with the Aces for the second-best record. Both teams behind the aforementioned Minnesota Lynx, along with Dallas, 16-8, a game and a half back. Golden State can be had. double digits to win the whole thing. Dallas 18, 20-1 in that neighborhood. Either team, in your opinion, may be worth a bet to win the whole thing?
I mean, either way would be not a terrible bet. I think Golden State's floor is probably higher than the Wings. I think the Wings' ceiling is probably a little bit higher than Golden State's. But I love the coach in Golden State. I love their attitude. They're kind of an underdog, scrappy kind of team. I just don't know how high their ceiling is. But definitely on any given night, and especially with shorter series early on, like the Valkyries absolutely could make a run.
I was sitting here nodding. Really well said. The Valkyries have a very high floor, but probably not the same ceiling. Although at their best, given they lead the league, at least last year they did, and they're among the leaders this year in terms of 3-point attempts per game. That's the variance. And they have a great coach, Natalie Nakase, or as the commissioner, the idiot commissioner would say, Nikhazy. I think the Aces could fall off. I think when you have, I'm not going to call it dead money, but when you have vulnerable money at the top in terms of the favorites, there's value elsewhere by definition. I don't believe in the Liberty per se, although at full strength, they got to be really, really good. The Lynx figure to be awesome. They're the rightful favorite because Collier's coming back soon, as Tyler was saying. So maybe we see, look, I ran into a very sharp odds maker 2 weeks ago, and he liked the Fever to win it all. He thinks they're live here. And honestly, I've seen flashes of it, and they are getting everyone's best shot. And Caitlin Clark gets picked up full court. So there's an element of where they kind of look unfairly a certain way in the regular season because they're getting everyone's playoff performance.
Yeah, and Doug, just to put a cherry on top of that, looking at my proprietary numbers here, Indiana has been about 6 points better from a power rating standpoint against what I consider playoff teams, which is really the top seven, the clear top 7 teams. Against those teams, they've been about 6 points better than against non-playoff teams. So when they've really needed to turn it up this season, they have.
Do you know, is that the best mark in that like metric per your numbers overall for any team?
It's definitely up there.
Okay.
I don't have that mapped out, but it's definitely up there as one of the best.
Very good. Hey, Tyler, awesome spot. Thanks for the time today, and best of luck with the bet tonight. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
There you go. Tyler Shoemaker on X at T-Shoe Index, VSiN.com.
Stunned the Fever 18-1. I thought they would have the Tiger sort of impact, like 3-1 because of the risk.
I see in the 25-1 neighborhood.
I think you have to bet that.
You have to bet that one?
Kelsey Mitchell and Boston are awesome.
I want to expand on that because those 3 teams are worth talking about, and we'll get into a little Major League Baseball at the halfway mark coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Let me get your attention real quick, podcast listeners. I've got something for you that almost feels too good to be true. First, credit where credit's due. If you're listening to this podcast, you're already leveling up your betting game. You're riding along with our best bets and top angles. And when there's a good game on, you're getting involved with a few props and alt markets as well. There's one more layer if you really want to step things up, and that's VSiN Pro. I've mentioned it before, but things are only getting better for our pro subscribers. We just rolled out our MLB prop projections, breaking down some of the best edges across strikeouts, hits, home runs, and more. And that's on top of everything else pro subscribers already get, including public betting splits, expert picks, and betting guides across the sports calendar. If you haven't tried it yet, stop sleeping on it. You can get your first month just $9.99 or save big with promo code POD26 on the annual subscription. Hit the link in the description and start cashing in with VSiN Pro. All right, back to the show. On this show, we follow the money, and when VSiN decided to launch our own store, the smart money was on Shopify. Getting the VSiN store off the ground was easier than we expected, and Shopify's templates and AI tools had us look incredible and professional from day one. Zero coding required. Shopify checkout keeps sales moving smoothly, and returning customers can complete a purchase in one click. Built-in analytics, you always know what's selling and where your customers are coming from and how to keep the momentum going. When questions come up, and they will, Shopify's AI assistant Sidekick is there with answers so you never lose momentum. You can check out the store at VSiN.com/store. And if you're ready to build your own, all you need is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. Start your free trial at Shopify.com/VSiN. Shopify.com/VSiN. Again, that's Shopify.com/VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
World Cup has been one of the best tournaments I can ever recall. Any sport. VAR, I'm not the biggest fan, like most of you. But we'll talk about it here. We have two bangers, Doug, lined up in the semifinals beginning tomorrow, one on Wednesday. Then we'll have the third place game and the title game coming up this weekend. We go out to the progressive guest line. The Meat Man, Steve Wiss, joins the program now. Betting Weekly Studios and Because We Win podcast. Hey, Steve, thanks for the time today. How are you?
Hey, guys. Yeah, pretty good. Did I hear the words VAR? How long have we got? Because that is a topic which has sent me crazy for the last 5 years, I think.
Oh, no question. Well, as somebody, obviously, who supports England, what'd you make of that goal right before halftime that hit the wire for the camera, and they allowed it?
Well, according to FIFA, the detector in the ball did not register it hitting the wire. So I suppose we have to go with what FIFA say, don't we?
Okay.
Or do we have to? Listen, look, I think there's been a lot of kind of controversies in this World Cup. Even from that England-Norway game, I felt that the penalty England got given in extra time and then was taken away. It was meant to be for clear and obvious mistakes for and against, and it ultimately hasn't worked. But it is what it is. It's the system we've got. I've got a horrible feeling the World Cup final, maybe one massive decision might be decided by VAR.
Oh, boy.
So what's your advice, whether it's to yourself or to our audience, in terms of betting this stuff? If you can't even trust, because I got burned. I had Norway to advance. I really had Holland for Golden Boot, as you very well know on our other shows. And then also I had Switzerland to advance. And I feel like I was right there until some other stuff. So what's your advice to the audience in terms of having to trust this stuff?
The worst thing about VAR now is when a goal's scored, you can't really celebrate it as much as you used to be able to because you worry that it might get chalked off. I think from an emotional point of view, because loads of us are betting in play, you've got to stay as calm as you possibly can. And you've almost kind of got to be ready for a decision to go against you. And I suppose the same is for the head coaches and the players as well. They've got to be ready for, VAR intervening. And that's the best way I can say, really. Just don't get too hot-headed about it. Don't get too frustrated because it's out of your control.
Well said. Follow Steve on X at MeatManSoccer. You've been joining us a couple of times a week throughout the entire tournament. And last week, when we learned that it was going to be the look-ahead number on Spain-France was going to be about 2.5 for the total, your immediate reaction was, oh, mamma mia, we are getting goals in that match. You've had a couple of days to break it down, analyze. Are you sticking by that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I go straight on the overs when we knew the matchup. I think over 2.5 goals, around about -110. I think it's the best bet of all the semi-final bets that you can have. I'm bringing a mini step ladder out here for over 3.5 goals as well, plus 210. Because I do think the offenses ultimately win out. Because last year, the two teams met in the Nations League final. Spain actually won that match 5-4. I don't think we're going to get 5-4. But it was a clear demonstration that since the Spain beat 2 years ago, Spain won the big match in the Euros in the semi-final. I think France are going to get revenge this week because I think France have got better since the Euros. And this version of Spain isn't quite as good. Possibly one of the reasons for that is Lamine Yamal is not at 100% level. But I think last year proved that France felt the only way they could really beat Spain is trying to win a shootout. They didn't manage to do that. This time around, I will be thinking that France can get that revenge. But rather than play any side or even a team to go through, it's got to be the goals line for me. I'm going to bet on the overs. Indoor arena as well. The climate-controlled stadiums have produced a lot more goals at this World Cup because the players love playing in these sort of conditions. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. It's perfect for sporting athletes. And I think we're going to see that the best players on the field for both sides are ultimately in attack.
I want to stick with this side, though. I hear you on the over, but at first it looks pretty high that Spain is getting this much as an underdog. But then again, they're playing France, and sometimes early on you can be like, France should be a bigger favorite, and they might be on the live line. So I guess my question for you is, when you see these types of matchups in soccer, one team with an overwhelming offense that can put pressure on defense, and then Spain with their identity being sort of the midfield and possession, typically which side bends first when you see this type of matchup in any form of soccer, World Cup, Premier League, and whatnot?
good question, because often the matchup is more offense versus defense. This is more offense versus midfield, because I don't actually think the Spanish defense is actually that amazing. It doesn't concede too many goals, but one of the main reasons for that is because the midfielder protects it. So, yeah, this sort of matchup doesn't happen too often. I think it would be pretty much a toss of a coin down the years. But you don't get many big matchups like this in the soccer world, Doug, really. Club or country, for that matter. Really, you're talking Champions League in Europe, semi-finals and finals. Even in those semi-finals, you usually get an underdog somewhere. These two teams are probably the two best in the world. Heading into the tournament, they were kind of ranked equally in their odds and in people's rating systems. What if those rankings were actually wrong and France are a slightly better side? That's the way I see it now. I think, there'll be some people who would come on this show and would say Spain are the better side. We're in a matter of opinions. We're a matter of ratings. For me, France are just a slightly better level at this stage, at the current stage in the middle of July 2026. They're the team that are just purring more. Maybe in a year's time, Spain would be the team that are clearly better. But right now, for me, it is France who just have the edge. Fair
enough. How about Wednesday? Is it coming home here? England takes on Argentina. You have a couple of bets. You are going to advise a red card at plus 340. I can't wait to hear this.
Well, I don't actually know the referee yet as well. So, but listen, this is going to be really feisty. The two nations do not like each other on or off the field. And actually, England and Argentina haven't faced each other for 20 years or something like that. But when they used to face each other, there was a lot of tension, a lot of feistiness, red cards where players did something stupid. Emotions are going to run high. And I think it's going to be one of those cases where no matter who the referee is, there's probably going to be an incident where someone has to be sent walking. Someone's going to do something really, really stupid in this match because the soccer almost becomes second front to the tension that can go out there. Ultimately, I think both teams have their deficiencies, especially defensively. So I think both teams score yes at minus 120 is a pretty good bet for this match as well. Covers that 1-1 tie because we could go to extra time. We could go to penalties. Again, an indoor climate-controlled arena. I think this might be more open than some people think. But what's kind of stopping a serious amount of goals is maybe stop-start nature of the game with a lot of fouls and free kicks and just players kind of scuffling with each other. But if the game does flow and we get both offenses firing, this could be a really, really good watch as well. Who's going to go through? I hope England from an England fan perspective, but it is a real toss-up, I think, overall. Maybe the team that keeps its nerve and handles the pressure best and manages to control their temper the best will progress overall because I don't think it's going to end 11 versus 11 men on the field.
Okay. Fair enough. Well said. And one more thing on this team. So if you go back to that Sunday night when England played in Mexico and Jude Bellingham was the best player on the pitch, and I thought he had maybe the best game out of any player in the entire tournament. I'm like, could he win the player of the tournament, the Golden Ball Award? And I looked around and it wasn't posted anywhere. And I finally saw some like offshore books at 10-1. I'm like, I'd probably take a little 10-1. Fast forward to after they beat Norway, still not posted. Then he has 2 more goals. They repost Steve at like 4-1 or a little bit higher. I'm like, I'm a sucker. Why can't he win this award?
I think if England win the World Cup, then Jude Bellingham will get the Golden Ball Award. So some might say, plus 400 on him now is the same as England winning the World Cup. And England winning the World Cup is about plus 300-ish. Yeah, it looks a good bet because maybe this is not Harry Kane's team anymore. Maybe this is Jude Bellingham's team now. We're in maybe a transformation. And he can get involved. You know, Harry Kane can have some quiet matches because strikers sometimes feed off scraps in the soccer world. Jude Bellingham can get involved on the field whenever he wants because he's in midfield. So, look, we are looking at a high-class player. Some are even saying he might become England's best ever player.
Wow.
So this could be his crowning joy. This could be his crowning moment, winning the World Cup in 2026. I think there's not a bad bet at all, Mitch, to be honest, Jude Bellingham to win the Golden Ball, because if England go all the way, he would have to be in serious consideration.
Very good. Follow him again on X. He's at B-Man Soccer, the Betting Weekly Studios, and Because We Win podcast. Are you guys doing it every day again this week at 11 o'clock Eastern time, or tomorrow, Wednesday, and then look ahead after that?
Near 11 a.m. every day, right until the final day. So non-stop action on our channel. It's been really good stuff.
Yeah, you guys have been dynamite the entire time. Meatman, thank you. Enjoy the 2 games coming up. We'll talk soon.
You too, guys. Take care. See you soon.
You too. And real quick, just the tiebreaker for goals scored is assists. So got to keep an eye on that. That affects the market for the Golden Boot. And by the way, the red card prop, it does cash if it's a yellow red. So the second yellow, like we saw in the Argentina's previous game.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense, right? It should.
If it's a yellow, then it becomes a red. So you got to kind of handicap that.
Yep. The Open Championship is upon us as well. The final major of the year. We'll tell you some golfers who have done really well at the Open and not so much over the years. Coming up next here on VSiN.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Thanks for watching, as always, on YouTube TV, listening on SiriusXM, channel 158, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, or any of our great affiliates across the country. Mitch Moss, along with Doug Kazarian, live downtown Vegas. Circa Resort Casino was a spot. Busy hour coming up, Doug. In 15 minutes, you're going to tell the audience about you placed a bet on LeBron's next team over the weekend, and it was not the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Fact, plus 530, and the market's still around there as well.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of this is noise, and for myself as well, so I lean into the variance, as I explained earlier.
Yep. We'll go out now to the Progressive guest line. We'll talk some more World Cup betting as Chris Vasily joins the program now. Does a great job with Covers.com. Hey, Chris, thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Can't believe we're finally at the semifinal stage, business end of the tournament. I think we got 4 number 1 seeds going at it. Should be good watch in the next 48 hours.
Totally concur. By the way, what'd you make of the report that at the next World Cup 2030 could be going from 48 to 64 teams all of a sudden?
Yeah, you know what? I'm for it. I think everybody had a big they were up in arms about expanding to 48 teams, but at the end of the day, you put soccer onto television, people are going to watch it, especially, a country club competition there. I'm for it. I think it's going to be great. And people will watch it if it's put on TV.
I totally agree. I don't want to be among the people who are going to have the anti-fun running through the blood system 4 years before the event actually starts. Like, you can embrace this. This event has been unbelievable. One of the best I can remember in any sport. So the semifinals will begin tomorrow. We'll be on the air for the second half of France and Spain, which is just an absolute banger. What is your best bet between these two countries, Chris?
Yeah, this game's going to be, has the makings of the, World Cup finals. I'm on the under 2.5 goals, minus 110. I know I'm on a bit of an island here when it comes to these two teams. Obviously, you see, the likes of, Mbappe, Dembele, Lamal for France, for Spain, sorry. And you think you're going to get goals. But I do think this is going to be more of a tactical approach. I know, at the beginning of the show, you guys are not rushing football season along, but, an analogy here. France is kind of like that North Texas program. They just want to go all out all the time, attack. Spain's more of a Michigan. They're going to run control the game, run the ball, dictate play on their tempo. I do think the defensive abilities of Spain is going to win out in this specific contest. I think they're going to limit France's ability to counterattack, which they've been doing, lightning quick throughout the entire tournament. I know they have a good goal scoring record, elite players up front with France, but I do think this Spanish side is obviously the best teams that, they've each seen thus far this tournament. I think we're in for a cautious first half approach where, teams are going to want to fill each other out and not, make that mistake to go behind the 8 ball. I think under 2.5 is the way to go. I'm holding Spain to reach the finals ticket at plus 230 from pre-tournament. So I do lean a little bit more toward the Spain side to advance. But under 2.5 is the way I'm playing this one.
All right, that's pretty interesting, and I liked how you explained it. So just a couple things. Sometimes we see like, oh, you can't have Spain. That's a value play, but it sounds like you're pretty confident in just the matchup, regardless of the price. So that was my takeaway. You also mentioned that you think the first half will be slower scoring. Now, under a half, plus 185, so that's pretty nice. But if you think Spain will dictate and keep this 0-0 in the first half. Because obviously, if there's a goal early in the second half, this game can get to 2-0, then game can get away. So it sounds like the script that you described, are you taking a piece of under a half in the first half?
So under a half in the first half, plus 185. That is good value. If you look at this France attack, for example, they've scored 11 of their 16 goals so far in the second half of the World Cup. So they're not exactly coming out of the gates flying. Spain, obviously, they're more limited in their approach. They've not exactly blown teams out of the water at all this tournament. So yeah, under half a goal in the first half, plus 185. Or you could go the second half to be the highest scoring half. If you're, expecting a lower scoring half, which I am, ultimately, yeah, it all leads to under 2.5 with Spain dictating the tempo of the possession and kind of limiting France's ability to, run and stretch your legs and get those playmakers involved.
Okay, so if you like Spain in the first semifinal, let us follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest is Chris Vasili, covers.com. Who do you think they're going to be? Yeah, I know you have another best bet in that game, not the side, but who do you think they're going to play in the finale?
Yeah, so I have an outright Argentina ticket from before the tournament, 10-1. I'm sticking with that. I think, much has been made about Argentina's, luck and, VAR interventions and, just not being at their very best. But at the end of the day, they're still the champions. They know how to get the job done. I think all the pressure I think right now is on the English shoulders. They've not been to the finals since, 66. They've not won it since 66. I think this Argentina side, obviously with Lionel Messi leading the way, they're always in a game no matter what. We saw that against Egypt. I do like Argentina to advance, but I do think this game is going to go under 2.5 goals as well. You look at the way they've, they're earned their path to this specific spot. Argentina playing a lot of extra time. England, defending at altitude in Mexico City for, an emotional game for the last 45 minutes or so. Extra time against Norway. It all adds up, tired legs. It's just a game where teams are not going to want to make mistakes. We're at the business end of the tournament now. Teams are going to take a more cautious approach. So yeah, I lean Argentina to get the job done. And I do like the under 2.5 goals as my best bet.
Let's talk more about that semifinal game. One thing I miss in the NBA is David Stern's NBA, where things were somewhat scripted in the playoffs because of a series getting extended. There's some allegations that Argentina's getting a favorable whistle. The sports fan in me doesn't care. If there's an edge, we will lean into that. I will say, though, on the field, the Argentine player was the one that got the yellow card until the VAR showed what exactly happened, and I felt a no-brainer from VAR in that case. Is this something we can actually factor into our betting? Because Egypt game, obviously there was scrutiny. Should we be wagering on Argentina for that at least being one of the reasons to bet on them?
Right. So there's kind of two ways to attack that. Either, you're either on the right side of the rig or the wrong side of the rig. If you believe in those fixed matches, obviously you're betting Argentina for, what we've seen, I guess, for the first, 3 games of the knockout round, essentially. I'm not buying into it. I'm not naive enough to believe there's not, something going on, but I don't think at this stage in the tournament, there will be, a VAR intervention that favors Argentina in a way that's just appalling, or, vice versa with England. I think, as, the previous guest said, you got to take VAR with a grain of salt. You got to kind of stay level headed. These are kind of out of your control. And I do think, hopefully the best team wins in this game, and there's no kind of VAR controversies that we're talking about, Wednesday night into Thursday morning.
So, Chris, you're telling me that you also are involved here with a Messi prop, but it's not anytime goal scorer. What are you doing with him?
Yeah, we're taking him 2+ shots on target. I think we're getting some good value here at -120. Obviously everything runs through him, in the attacking third. He's on penalty kick duties. He's on free kick duties. I do think England at times this tournament has been a little bit susceptible to teams that, pass through the lines. They play in the channels. And, Messi, while he walks for the majority of the game, he's always finding himself in spots that, he can show up and impact the game with. He's gone over this number in 4 of the 6 games so far this tournament. So he is finding volume in terms of shots on target. In a low scoring game, you don't want to take, a minus or close to even money prop on a goal scorer. So I do think 2 shots on target is definitely within his wheelhouse for this contest.
Some of us want large payouts. Maybe not the plus 160s here and there, things like that. Is there anything that's maybe Spain to win to 0, something that could be a nice payout with one of these games that where it's a prop, a different kind of prop? Anything that come to mind where, hey, that's not a bad flyer to take in this particular matchup?
You know what? To be honest, I haven't really looked into the kind of the bigger payouts. Kind of focus more on where the edges per se. If you're kind of looking at goal scores, I know I'm on an island here with both games going under. But if you're looking for specific bigger payouts, you could definitely nil. Yeah, nil would be one angle if you're tailing the unders. Or just parlay a couple of goal scores for the France Spain game if you think you're going to get the Mbappes and the Lamals is showing out and kind of a little bit of that 5-4 action we saw the last time these two sides met.
Chris, you've had a very strong World Cup as well. What was the streak up to at the beginning? I think was it 11, 12 straight winners that you had?
Oh.
Yeah, we went 11 in a row in the round of 32. So there's 16 games. We gave out 11 best bets and we hit them all. The 12th one we gave out was Canada to advance over Morocco. I did feel confident about it. It wasn't a straight up homer play. I did have some thing for backing them. Obviously didn't go our way, but yeah, 11 in a row in the round of 32 was a nice touch.
That is a hell of a
bearing
run.
the lead here. Where was that in the intro?
That's incredible. Because I think I saw you guys tweeting that out. It just came to my mind. I should have had that written down a little bit earlier. As a 49-year-old, Doug, my memory is
I'm with you, man.
Yeah, wiped out completely. But that is incredible. By the way, is it our imagination as a you love the sport of soccer? I like it. I'm not a purist. I'm not a historian of the sport. This has been as good as I can ever remember. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree. This is probably the best tournament we've seen since, I would say, 2006. That was kind of the one where, there were stars littered across the entire tournament. From an entertainment perspective, obviously, we're getting more goals in this tournament. Everything's been, great entertainment. Obviously, the games in, North American hours that, help.
That
helps. You don't have to wake up too early to watch those or stay up overnight for us here in North America. But yeah, it's been top notch for what we've seen for the last month. Going to miss it when it's gone.
Yep. Well said.
By the way, 0-0, if I'm reading these correctly, 16-1 for that particular game.
Okay. That's a bomb payout.
There you go.
A fun
There you
payout.
go.
Yeah. You can follow Chris on X, by the way, putting up all of his picks, covers.com. He is at MC_silly3. Great job, Chris. Thank you for the time. Best of luck tomorrow and on Wednesday.
Thank you. You as well.
There you go. He joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. We will get into LeBron's next team, odds coming up next. Report suggesting it's down to 2 teams. Doug placed a bet on LeBron's next team, and it was not the Cavaliers. Find out which one next.
On this show, we follow the money, and when VSiN decided to launch our own store, the smart money was on Shopify. Getting the VSiN store off the ground was easier than we expected, and Shopify's templates and AI tools had us look incredible and professional from day one. Zero coding required. Shopify checkout keeps sales moving smoothly, and returning customers can complete a purchase in one click. Built-in analytics, you always know what's selling and where your customers are coming from and how to keep the momentum going. When questions come up, and they will, Shopify's AI assistant Sidekick is there with answers so you never lose momentum. You can check out the store at vsin.com/store. And if you're ready to build your own, all you need is the idea. Shopify handles the rest. Start your free trial at shopify.com/vsin. Shopify.com/vsin. Again, that's shopify.com/vsin.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
We'll get some best bets here for the final major of the 2026 calendar year. The Open Championship is this week. I love this event. I love how it's like overnights here living on the West Coast. I'm not Matt Humans. We don't stay up and, we get 43 minutes of sleep and then, we're back at it at 7 o'clock in the morning.
It's a shame his annual party, which was one of the best things we had
for the Open Championship.
It went away. It was the final round. So it would start Saturday night, Sunday morning at about 2 a.m. or so, maybe midnight, and go until 11 a.m., noon.
Sure.
People trickled off over the years. And Matt was like, only 2 people want to do it, 3 people. Because he would stay up all night. And it's a great idea.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah.
It's almost better in like the East Coast. start at 4 a.m.
Probably.
5 a.m. Yeah.
All right. So more on this here. We go to the progressive guest line. Ryan Ballingy, kind enough to join the program. 19th hole golf show and Golf News Net as well. Ryan, thanks for the time today. How are you?
Great. How are you guys?
Doing really well. So we started the conversation on the Open Championship a little bit earlier today. Like, and Scotty's now 7-1. You actually said during the break you saw like 7.5-1. At what number are we talking about? It's like, yeah, I have to get involved at some point here because it's just too good to pass up on him.
Yeah, I think we're right there. I mean, somewhere between 7.5 and 8-1 is probably a yes for me. I mean, he's spent so much of this year plus 300, plus 400, plus 500. I mean, those are kind of silly numbers. Plus 800, where he's kind of on parity with Rory McIlroy, is close to joint favorite this week. I feel like that's a number you got to go with, and I think it's a little bit of an overreaction to him finally missing a cut last weekend.
So I'm actually anti-Scotty for the last month or so. I just think recent form, you just can't. Even if he gets up to 8-1, I get it. He's defending champion, and last year he was the favorite after every round. He wasn't leader after every round, but he did go 64 in round 2 and never looked back. So I get it, but his recent form last year with the putter, much better than it is right now. I have concern going into this tournament. I wouldn't bet him, even if he got to maybe 10-1, I would. Ooh. But still, like, there's just too many other good golfers. If he's not, peak Scotty with the putter, then he missed a playoff 4-footer, didn't even lip out. So what, even if he gets to this price, what about his recent form does not scare you off?
There's some benefit here that the Open Championship greens tend to be slower than the other majors. I mean, even than week to week on the PGA Tour. So he can kind of hit those speed putts that he likes to ram them in these days, which I don't know that I like personally as a golfer, but it's what he seems to like to do. I think that can work to his advantage here. Also, because the greens are slower, he doesn't necessarily have to worry quite as much as he probably typically would with a flat stick, where if you kind of miss a short one just a little bit, you're going to miss by quite a bit, like he did in that Travelers playoff you're talking about, Doug. I think the tee to green game is great. The difference between when Scotty Scheffler wins and finishes top 10 or top 20 is comes down to putting. And I think his ball striking is superior enough to kind of warrant at least a look here at 7.5 or 8-1, but I don't love the number either way.
Yeah. Well, here might be the betting angle with Scotty this week, because he is now finally drifting out. As Ryan was saying, he's not 3-1 anymore, 4-1. So he's now plus 145 to finish top 5, but even better than that, when's the last time, Ryan, you think that we saw Scotty Scheffler minus 125 to finish top 10? It's the first book I looked at. You might have a better number. That, to me, seems like kind of buying low right now on Scotty. What do you think?
I think that's kind of one of those bets I would like to place as kind of a saver for the rest of my bankroll for the week. I think he can get into the top 10 here pretty easily. I mean, he does it with his eyes closed half the time. So if you're going to try and kind of hedge a little bit against taking a couple of longer shots here, because I do think this is a fairly wide open tournament, maybe that can cover you quite a bit.
Okay, let's begin with the golfers who you have bet at this point to win it outright. Chris Gotterup won the Scottish last year. He was also very good again this past weekend. Why do you like Chris this weekend at the Open?
I bet him after the Deer, and I like Deer. The Deer is not a great proxy for this tournament, but he played his way into it last year and then played very well, obviously, at the Scottish and won. He defended very well, as you mentioned, over the last weekend. There seems to be a pretty strong correlation that's starting to develop between performance in the Scottish Open the week prior and then playing well in the Open Championship the very next week. My concern with Gotterup in general is just that he could be tired. I know that he's young. He's won 3 times this year, but he's now going on basically a 5th week in a row, almost 6 weeks in a row. That's a lot of golf for anybody. I don't care if you're in your 20s or not. So is there an element of being tired to this? Potentially. But other than that, all the indicators suggest that he's playing good golf. He seems to like this style of golf with his length and the way that Royal Birkdale is going to play very firm and fast. He can kind of play whatever brand of golf he wants off the tee and put himself in a position to play pretty well.
And what number did you get on him? What number would you recommend to the audience here?
That was on 33. I would say anywhere from 30 to 35 is probably pretty playable here. I wouldn't take anything into the 20s, but if you can get him into the 30s, I would go for it.
Yeah, okay. So you've been betting this now for a little while, and one guy that, again, we brought up a little bit earlier in the show, you have Justin Rose. I'm curious at the number there because now he's down to like 29, 30. Maybe there's a 35 out there on him, but I want a piece of him somehow. I'm thinking maybe first round leader on Justin. What number did you get on him outright?
That was 45, and that was not too long after the Masters.
Okay.
This was a thing I've thought about for Justin Rose basically since last year. This tournament where he was a 17-year-old, hold out in the final hole, kind of extends his arm up to the sky. This is kind of a full circle sentimental bet. Although I will say he has been playing some good golf. He's certainly been playing some pretty good golf. The age factor doesn't really bother me here. He certainly wants to get one more major championship. He's been close in this championship not too long ago. Obviously, he can be a first-round leader, and I really like that call, Mitch, because he's done it so many times at the Masters. He knows what that pressure is like, and he can certainly handle it. It'd be an interesting way to kind of angle him this week.
Been mostly big names at the majors the last couple of years. We did get Aaron Rai this year, J.J. Spaun a year ago. Are there any bombers you're looking at? I mean, there's sometimes bombers I don't disclose because I'm a little embarrassed that I bet it. Is there anyone that, trust space here? Anybody worth a little sprinkle that you think it's not that crazy?
I will admit this is a little bit of a crazy one, but I really like Johnny Kiefer, a guy who was number one on the Korn Ferry Tour last year. Got to know him a little bit. We do a show about the Korn Ferry Tour, and really good young kid. And it seems like he's starting to kind of figure out how to play the PGA Tour. There's a very big difference between playing the Korn Ferry Tour, where 25 under wins every week, and playing the PGA Tour. And it seems like he's starting to find that, notwithstanding getting into this championship by virtue of playing well in the Scottish Open. But he's 250-1, kind of really interesting number on a golf course that seems to favor his brand of golf, I think. You can kind of get, if you look at back 2017, you had some relatively unknown players back then contend. Haotong Li's one of those guys. He was third place back in 17, and I wouldn't even fathom what his price was back then. But basically the same price as Chris Goddard, as Johnny Kiefer is now at 250-1. That's what Haotong Li is this week. So thinking about kind of similar guys, that would be like my long shot that in safe space, I will admit I'm going to play, even though it might look foolish 30 minutes into it.
Okay, my safe space play. I love that. That's great. Okay, so one final pick that you have this week that you do like better than safe space. It's Patrick Reed. Go ahead and take it away on him.
I love Reed's ball striking. If it gets particularly windy, it could be concerning, but I don't think that it's going to get that way. I don't think it's going to get out of pocket here. Wind-wise, 12 to 14 miles per hour is nothing for him. Distance is not going to be a concern, and I think that him playing well in this format, again, kind of leaning back into, if you played the Scottish Open pretty well, you tend recently to play pretty well the next week. He's very fired up to play in these tournaments. He still wants to remind people that he could be a top 20 player in the world. He's going to the PGA Tour next year through the DP World Tour. He's got nothing to worry about there. So it's kind of a free roll for him. And I think that's for a chance for him to be aggressive and play the kind of golf that he likes to play.
You can get more golf coverage with Ryan, the 19th Hole Golf Show, and also Golf News Net, and follow him on X at Ryan Ballengee, Ballengee. Great stuff, Ryan. Thank you for the time. Best of luck this week at the Open.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. And
he joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line. So again, he likes Goddard up 30s, Patrick Reed there with the breakdown, and also Justin Rose. And the first book I looked at for the first round leader for Rose, 45-1. I think that's playable.
I think you have to, just given his knack for that. I also, we haven't discussed it a lot, but I like those markets without Scotty, without the big three or big five. Just gives you a few more bullets in the gun and don't get greedy. Also, some of these books sleep at the wheel a little bit. I've seen the same price for both.
Yeah, it's
then you just blame yourself. I mean,
right. Or even if it's not the same, which I would also notice, like if you're going to tell me that you can have the winner without Scotty, Rory, like a Fitzpatrick, and maybe a Rahm, and a golfer that you're looking at is 20-1 with all those guys included, he might be 18-1 with. Okay, I'm going to miss 2 points.
I think it's great. Last year, Harris English finished second. Probably a happier payout if you had that ticket and you didn't have to deal with Scotty just being so dominant last year at this tournament.
Yeah, what do you think Harris English was last year in the winner without Scotty? Still a gigantic number.
Right,
yeah.
Right, and then you can shop around so you can pick off rogue numbers to fill out your portfolio. That's the beauty of this.
Sure. Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. We're going to get to our best bets coming up with in-pocket plays next.